Welcome back, Devils fans, and we are here today to talk about the Mikey McLeod trade rumors. On New Year's Eve day, James Nichols reported on X that teams were looking to acquire Michael McLeod via trade from our New Jersey Devils. We look at the tweet here. It says, "Good morning. A source confirmed to New Jersey Hockey Now last night that trade talks involving New Jersey Devils 2016 first-round selection Michael McLeod have picked up." I saw that tweet, or X post, I don't know what you call these things now, but I saw that and was like, wow, Mikey McLeod has become one of my favorite players on this team. I talked about it in previous videos on the channel, and now there's reports that we are looking to trade him. The first thing I think of immediately is that, wow, that is insanity. Michael McLeod should not be traded under any circumstances unless it's something that you just can't say no to. The rumor was very vague. There wasn't much more detail, but everyone was speculating that it could have been part of a deal to acquire Gibson from Anaheim. And you guys know how the internets work. So people posting all sorts of theories and hypotheses regarding Michael McLeod and what this meant. And so I see this. James Nichols, very credible guy. It's not like Eklund with the E3, E4 special. And I started to think, wow, this might have some legs. And so let's just take a look at Mikey's numbers. And last season, in 80 games played, he had 4 goals and 22 assists for 26 points, finishing a +6. Scored a monster game-winning goal, the first goal of the game in Game 7 against our beloved friends across the river, the New York Rangers. As you guys know, if you've been watching my videos, anyone who does something big on the big stage will always have a special place in my heart, and I'll always look at them maybe a little differently than other players who haven't had a moment like that. And so, enter the Adam Henriques, the Akira Schmids of the world, and I put Mikey McLeod right there as well. Game-winning goal, Game 7. Not too many players in the league have that on their resume, and Mikey McLeod does. And his status was elevated to me personally from that moment on, and then this season, obviously, he's having a great year, and he's become a really valuable piece of the team. So look at his stats for this year. In 35 games played thus far, he has 7 goals and 7 assists for 14 points and a +8. Mike McLeod is a Swiss Army knife, as they say. The proverbial Swiss Army knife. The guy could do anything, kill penalties, hit, fight, score goals, get assists, get dirty points. And that's the kind of guy you need on your team if you're going to have a playoff run. It's nice to have the Jack Hughes of the world and the Nico Hischiers and the Tyler Toffoli's, but you also need those McLeod-type guys that are going to do the dirty stuff that some of those other guys aren't going to do. Not to mention he's leading the league in face-off win percentage as an absolute face-off wizard. So, Mike McLeod having a monster season, on pace to shatter his career high from last year, and the rumors are swirling. And I wouldn't blame teams for wanting to acquire him. He's a great player to have, and it makes sense that teams would want him. So that was the rumor that came out yesterday. Now we fast forward to New Year's Day, January 1st, and James Nichols tweets or X posts some clarity on yesterday's Michael McLeod report. And you click on the link on the site, and it says, on Sunday, New Jersey Hockey Now reported that trade talks regarding New Jersey Devils forward Michael McLeod had increased. The report suggested trading McLeod was an option to acquire help in other areas, and the Devils might be willing to part with the forward in a trade. However, following the initial report, the Devils organization strongly denied the team would be willing to do so. NJHN stands behind the original report, but there's a need for some clarification. A third source from another NHL team confirmed to NJHN that there was interest in McLeod. New Jersey Hockey Now circled back to the original sources. They stand firm on teams having a strong interest in McLeod. Thus the clarification. Although teams might have interest in the 25-year-old center, that doesn't mean the Devils have made McLeod available. Wow, so that's not necessarily walking it back, but I understand the clarification because there are trolls on all these social media platforms, and I do feel like Twitter, Devils Twitter, is a bunch of children, to be honest, and I find that a lot of you guys in my comments seem to be more educated and older fans. I could be totally wrong, but when I see the Devils Twitter posts and stuff, it just seems like a lot of kids that don't know what the hell they're talking about, just retweeting and posting, and it's not for me. I rarely go on there. But, the clarification being that, so now they're saying oh, the Devils aren't offering up McLeod, but teams are trying to pry him away. And again, makes total sense. McLeod's a very valuable piece and can really help a lot of teams. And then shortly after that, Novo posted on NJ.com the lead story, the title there, Devils deny they're shopping Michael McLeod in trade talks. And then the article reads in the beginning part, while the Devils are most certainly mulling their trade options, the deadline just 3 months out, the team denies that forward Michael McLeod is part of any of those discussions. Asked for comment about a Sunday morning report that McLeod is, in quotes, now an option on the table for the Devils via trade, a Devils spokesperson told NJ Advanced Media there is, in quotes, nothing to the rumor. Again, when teams come out and deny things like this, I don't put too much stock into it because, you know, it's just a complex thing, and it makes sense that they would possibly try to lie about it. No one's going to come out and be like, yeah, we're trying to trade McLeod. You know, it makes McLeod feel some sort of way. It might affect his game. It might affect other things. You know, it's a lot when guys are being shopped, and I don't put too much stock into the denials when these things do occur. But I do believe that that story could be legit as well, is that the Devils weren't waving him out there to entice teams, but teams were calling about him. Either way, even if the Devils aren't actively trying to shop him, if teams are trying to pry him away and making trade offers, then he's essentially in trade talks. I mean, whether the Devils tried to do it or not, or was their initiative, in the end, if teams are trying to get a player from you and they're offering players or different packages, you are now part of trade talks. So I do believe that his name is part of trade talks. And it seems like one of the most likely destinations could possibly be Anaheim in exchange or as part of an exchange to get John Gibson here, which I've talked about on depth in the channel in the past as well. I'm not completely sold on Gibson personally. I do not want to overpay for him, and it seems like that the Ducks are trying to get a King's ransom. It seems as though the Ducks are trying to get a King's ransom in return for him, with so many other teams looking for a goalie and not many seemingly available. And so, seller's market, you're selling a goalie. Let's see what type of packages we could get teams to offer us. And I don't want to be the team that's left holding the bag that vastly overpays for Gibson, who may or may not pan out. It's a very tricky situation. Unfortunately, Fitz has painted us in a corner to where now we don't have many options, and maybe we make a desperation trade. I personally will go on the record to say I would not want to trade Michael McLeod unless it was something, something really big. I'm not going to say he's untouchable. I would say almost all players, there is no such thing as an untouchable for the most part. On this club, I would say we do have a few untouchables, namely Nico Hischier, Jack Hughes, and probably Luke Hughes. But in terms of untouchables, that's probably it. I mean, there's guys that you obviously don't want to trade, but even like a guy like Jesper Bratt, if in some crazy hypothetical scenario, if we were getting Connor McDavid, again, this is just crazy hypotheticals, you're going to consider it. And so, true untouchables are pretty rare. And I could see McLeod possibly being dealt if Fitz thought it made sense and helped us now. I do believe McLeod could be a huge piece of the nucleus going forward. He's a restricted free agent after this season. He has arbitration rights. He's definitely going to be due a raise of some kind from the pay he's currently receiving. And maybe Fitz has crunched some numbers and thinks that he would be a cap casualty, which might help him justify mentally moving him as part of compensation to bring in a goalie like Gibson. I don't know. Time will tell. We don't know the answers to all of these things. But I do love Michael McLeod, Game 7 hero. Would prefer not to trade him if the deal made sense. Sometimes you got to make painful moves. I mean, every trade that we make can't be a landslide victory, right? So Sharon Govich and the third-round pick we got from Columbus for the Severson sign-and trade, to me, again, Sharon Govich is playing great this year as well, but he was buried on the depth chart on the deep forward roster we have. Fitz has made a lot of trades that everyone was like, oh my God, it's a no-brainer. He fleeced them. And to win in this league, you can't rely on only trades like that, because most trades are not like that. Then you look back at the Hall for Larson 1-for-1. Total fleecing. But they all cannot be like that. And so there might be tough decisions to be made. I personally do not want the Devils to just throw this year away and just say, oh, well, the goalie price was too high, so we're just going to stand pat and make do with what we have. Vanacek is not part of the solution. And I might be more willing to hold off if we moved to a Dawes Schmid tandem, or if we brought in somebody else as long as Vitek is not on the team, I'm okay if we're going to stand pat and hope for the best. I do think, potentially wasting a season, as I've talked about at length in previous videos, is that years go by quick and nucleuses age, and before the blink of an eye, we're going to be in Jack's 7th, 8th year, and you're like, what the hell went wrong? And what's going wrong is you can't just throw seasons away. And to me, if we do not make an aggressive move to get a goalie or establish the fact that Nico Dawes is a legitimate NHL starter as of basically right now, then we're essentially throwing a season away. If Vitek Vanacek is continually getting starts in between the pipes to the New Jersey Devils, no one can tell me that we are serious about winning. Bottom line. And again, I hate to keep kicking the guys back in and bashing him, but if you start him any sort of consistent basis, you are not serious about winning. Furthermore, even if we do get to the playoffs, no one can tell me that they think we could win a cup with him, because you can't. He's just too erratic, too inconsistent, and it would take a series of miracles for us to even get to the conference finals with that guy in net. And that's just the harsh reality. So if this whole Michael McLeod thing is part of bringing in Gibson, I'm not going to get into too in-depth scenarios, but I could see it happening, and you have to sometimes make those tough decisions. Gibson is going to be targeted by a lot of people, and I don't know who else Anaheim's willing to put up in a trade, but, a guy like Gudas, he could really help the blue line. He's a nasty guy, physical guy, and the type of sandpaper that I've, again, talked about consistently and over a long period of time in the videos on the channel is that the Devils are Charmin soft, baby duty soft. We get shoved around, beat up, and we have nobody that people are afraid of on the other team, and no guy that's going to really stand up for his teammates consistently and scare the shit out of people. Gudas is one of those guys. And so if we were able to make some sort of deal to acquire Gibson and Gudas, two pieces that we really need, in my opinion, our two biggest needs are a physical defenseman and a goaltender. If McLeod, as part of a package, could get Gibson and Gudas here, I could see Fitz being tempted to do it. And let's get real crazy. What if Uncle Rico, Adam Henrique, got thrown in there too? Now you're talking about, a depth center who could kind of replace, obviously not the full extent of it, but could fill a little bit of that void McLeod would leave if he was dealt. So now you're talking about this could be a monster trade potentially. Gibson, Gudas, Henrique to the Devils for McLeod, a first rounder, a prospect or two, a second rounder. I don't know. I'm just throwing out hypotheticals. But it seems like there could be a sensible scenario where this all goes down. And who knows, right? Time will tell. But I will say that if we are going to make a deal, I'd prefer not to deal McLeod. I'd prefer not to deal roster players. But I also don't want to mortgage the future and give away guys like Seamus Casey to get a guy in Gibson that may or may not be an answer for us. And so it's a very tough situation. Fitz put us here, and he's going to have to figure it out. I hope we don't stand pat with the goalies we have. And if we have to trade McLeod, if the return is worth it, then so be it. And it really sucks. Part of the game. I love the guy and would like to see him win a cup with us. But that may not be reality. And so in closing, let me know in the comments what you guys think about possibly trading McLeod to obtain a goaltender. And it seems like the most logical one would be John Gibson from Anaheim. Anaheim has been scouting us, I believe, for like a week or so at Devils games. And so that seems to be the most logical kind of situation here. And what do you guys think? Would you deal McLeod in a package to get Gibson? Because obviously it's not going to be 1-for-1. With these reports of what they're asking for, it'd be McLeod and a ton of other stuff to bring in Gibson. What do you guys think about that? Do you want to trade McLeod? Do you think it'd be worth it? Let me know in the comments what you guys think. Any other Devils-related stuff. Love talking to all of you and seeing some of the infights in the comments. It's pretty funny. But like, comment, subscribe, and all that jazz. Until next time, friends.